Welcome to the T-Pac Arcade. Today's game is Nuts and Milk for the Nintendo Famicom. In this 1983 platformer from Hudson Soft, Milk, the little pink gumdrop thing, is out to save his fiancée Yogurt from the advances of a little blue gumdrop thing named Nuts, because chivalry must prevail, even among colorful 8-bit circles named after dairy and protein. So how do you save Yogurt? Well, by collecting all the fruit in the playfield and reuniting with her in that little pastel house at the top of the screen. I can only assume you collect bananas and apples, because collecting nuts and milk might present a confusing identity crisis for our questionably named characters. There are 50 single-screen levels to clear by running, jumping, and climbing your way around blocks, pipes, springs, and rope ladders, all while avoiding up to 3 nutses, because apparently, in his zeal for abducting your future wife, he's gained the ability to spontaneously multiply, and kill you on contact, so it's best not to run into him. You can jump over him to score some sweet bonus points though, in a rather taunting display of your agility. That is, if you can call it agility. The biggest challenge in this game is wrangling the controls. Climbing rope ladders gives you the most maneuverability because you can move in any direction on them, but you can't jump from the top of a rope ladder, which makes you a sitting duck. You also can't jump up steps if you're positioned directly against them, and the jumps themselves take some practice, because there's no changing direction in midair. That's right, just like you've committed to your fiancée Yogurt, you've got to commit to those jumps, till death do you part. And death is keen to see you part, because jumping across wide gaps will most likely send you plummeting to your doom, unless you time it just right. Only falling in water spells instant death, but a long drop onto a platform will still immobilize you briefly, in which case, you've got to frantically hammer that action button to stir yourself back into motion before Nuts gets you. Nuts isn't your only threat though. There are several bonus levels where he's replaced by flames that cross from one end of the screen to the other. Failing these levels won't cost you a life, but winning will gain you one. And a neat cutscene with a big ol' heart made of flowers. Adorable. At the title screen, you can choose to play game type A or B, and I stuck to B, since it has yellow helicopters you can collect for extra points. Not that I was playing for score, I just like the dopamine hit from that bonus point sound, like an email notification or something. It's probably spam, but my brain likes the little ping anyway. Although, game B also comes with extra red blimps that can kill you, so getting my silly dopamine fix comes with a higher challenge level. Speaking of which, with enough trial and error, none of the stages in Nuts and Milk are particularly difficult, although I did use save states to reset the current level whenever I died, since the game only starts you with 3 lives and no continues. Technically that wasn't necessary, since Nuts and Milk is generous enough to include a built-in stage select, but to use it, you've got to cycle through all the levels one by one, which would be like returning to where you left off in a book by turning over 1 page at a time from the very beginning. And I'd rather optimize my time playing the game instead of flipping through it. Aesthetically, it's hard not to love the presentation here in Nuts and Milk. The characters are adorable, the stage design has that minimalist, early Nintendo charm, and the animations go out of their way to add a lot of character to literally everything. From the bouncy tiptoe walks, to the cute little spinning helicopter propellers, to the weighty, screen-shaking impacts when you fall too far and crash sideways onto a platform. And the sound design is even more appealing somehow. I love how the chiptunes go from brief, fleshed-out themes at the beginning and end of each level to more subtle bass lines during the stage itself. It's really well balanced that way. And the sound effects have a wonderfully arcadey feel too, particularly those bonus point blips, which are so addicting that I can't help risking certain death to chase helicopters and leapfrog nutses. And like I said, I don't even care about the score, but my brain wants that dopamine hit, and somehow, life seems less precious when I'm presented with the prospect of a bling sound effect and an arbitrary pixelated number flashing on the screen to congratulate me for my reckless tendencies. The most novel aspect of Nuts and Milk might be the springs. You can't navigate all the stages without mastering the double jump, which requires leaping towards a spring, then pressing and holding the jump button again before you make contact with it. Then you can shoot up onto a higher platform. It's tricky, but that makes it all the more satisfying when you nail the timing. My favorite part of this game is how it doesn't feel the need to constantly throw in extra elements in a misguided attempt to keep things exciting as you progress. I really admire video games that show you everything they have to offer right in the first few levels, where the fun is in mastering something simple and unchanging, rather than adapting to constant additions that only serve to overcomplicate it all. If I could change one thing though, I'd replace the clunky level select with infinite continues. Some of these stages took me at least a dozen attempts, and 3 lives just wasn't cutting it. Overall, Nuts and Milk is a solid combination of so many things I love. Its graphics and animation, its sound design, its simple gameplay, and even its silly name. I love peanuts and I love almond milk. I love bananas and I love apples. I love helicopter dopamine hits and I sure do love this game.